So good morning. I hope you're all well. Um, I've decided to do a little video about the Swynwraig. I've just had a conversation with Alexandra, who is really well, but she is still in a beautiful winter wonderland, and she's a little confused at what to do about starting the work on the Swynwraig, which is our archetype for this season. So the Swynwraig is not just for this season. It is just the beginning. Here in the UK, here in Glastonbury especially, we have the most amazing springtime coming. It's about 10 degrees, the snowdrops are all out in the Abbey, we've got crocus, we have got the catkins, we've got the first stirrings of all sorts of wonderful herbs coming up. The dandelions, for example, the ones that are in this season, and the clover, they are starting to come up slowly but surely. And it is really important that we observe very carefully what is going on around us in nature. Alexandra and I were just talking about the way that the apothecaries in Germany still are very much in touch with their actual profession. They have to really learn, almost more than the GPs here in the UK, the components of plants, of trees, of things that are in pharmaceuticals, especially. Myself, in Germany years ago, I was given some sort of medication by a doctor, and we trust doctors because we think they know what they're doing. Well, when the apothecary saw what I had been given, she was horrified, and she said, you're not taking this, I'm not giving this to you, I think you need to go back to your doctor, there's something not right. And she was quite right. She probably saved my life. So knowing something, I'm not asking you to be apothecaries, by the way, or herbalists, but knowing something about an awareness of what it is that is in nature around us right now, what is natural and what is not natural, is really important. It's been a very long winter. Many people have been very, very sick in our community as well, and in our group. And partially it is because what we eat nowadays, even if it is vegetables and fruits, it doesn't really have any nutritional value. There are very few vitamins now. I mean, there's a number of studies that has been done about the nutrition in our food, especially things that have been transported from far away. So you may think that you're doing yourself a great deal of good by buying the expensive green beans from Kenya. But in truth, when you look at the actual vitamins that are in that, because of the way that they've been picked and transported, there isn't really an awful lot in there. And I know that people say that if you have frozen vegetables, they are picked right away and then they are frozen and the vitamins stay in. Of course, that is true. But it is also, when are they being picked and where are they being picked from? What is the soil that they come from? As a Druid, I sometimes think that we are more healthful if we eat things that have been growing on the land on which we live. It's a personal opinion, a personal view, and nobody has to subscribe to that rather than myself. But I do feel when I go out right now, for example, with my kappa and cut a few leaves from, let's say, a tree or the nettles or whatever is coming up now, I know that I feel better. I have got quite a few herbs in my own garden in pots, and they are coming slowly but surely because mine is a south-facing garden. I'm really lucky, and also it has been very mild, bar maybe 1 or 2 days where we've had some snow. So we are now at the cusp of reintegrating our sacred harvesting of the gifts of Mother Earth. Obviously, with some of you, that is not the case. What I'm asking you is to just keep an eye out what is growing around you. Some of you have amazing gardens. Some of you have gardens of their own where you know nothing has been sprayed, so you can quite safely go ahead and pick things from your garden. Hedgerows nowadays are a little bit more dangerous, not necessarily because they are being sprayed, but the things that are being sprayed onto the fields that are surrounded by the hedgerows can be chemically alterated, and it can be that some of that goes in the hedgerow too. So be very aware of what is being grown in the fields near you. If you want to go out and look at the hedgerows, I recommend it, but it is all about being aware, being awake to what is going on in nature and what we as human beings are doing. So I have these wonderful organza bags. Some people say, oh, they're made out of plastic and you shouldn't be using them, but I have had some of those for over 10 years. So, for example, my mistletoe that was on my tree and all over my house over Christmas has been harvested by a good friend of mine here in Glastonbury in her own orchard. I know she puts nothing on it, so I know I'm going to use that mistletoe. I've cut it into small pieces, and it will be going into my tea, it will be going into my incense, it will be going into all sorts of other things. And it is that I'm asking you to do. The circle starts again. It is time to look around, to see what is on the trees, to see what is in the earth, and ask permission to take some of those things for yourself. We were talking about where people now hide herbal remedies. And I was telling Alexandra about one of the sweeties that I used to love as a child called Purmol. And they are marketed as a health-giving herbal remedy in Germany. So, you know, I'm the same with Fisherman's Friends. I love Fisherman Friends. I'm taking it at the moment. And it's got capsicum in, which is clearing my nose. And also it has licorice in, which has got a major amount of healthy, health-giving properties. So the fact is, for example, eucalyptus comes from Australia and New Zealand, I'm assuming. I don't actually know for sure. But that does my sinuses a lot of harm. If I use anything like eucalyptus spray or whatever, it actually irritates my sinuses. Right now, as you can see, my face is quite swollen. It's because my sinuses are up, because people around me here in Glastonbury have the lurgy from hell. I haven't had it yet, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I keep getting to the edge of it, and then I'm like, woo, I need to rest. I need to take lots of vitamin C. I need to look at sage. I love my sage, so I've tried a lot of sage. All sorts of other things. I make mustard poultices. We will be talking about that in the next weekend, but it does bring the swelling down. You just mustn't get it in your eye. There's a very specific way of doing them. But using things that are grown on this particular island, because I live here, I would like to use the gifts that Goddess gives us here. And wherever you are, it is really important for you to look around and see what's actually in season right now. Is there anything yet? Is there something that could be used? And always, always, when you ask for something, ask the plant spirit if you are allowed to take something. And we will talk a little bit about how you approach a plant spirit, how you harvest some of the gifts without harming the whole plant. And it's really important that we do this with honor and integrity, and not like the agriculture that's happening here in the UK right now, which is getting worse and worse and worse. And hence, I'm not necessarily sure how healthy whatever we are being given here in the UK actually is. The Swynwraig is the lady who brewed the awen. That in itself is a huge feat. The awen is a goddess-given gift. What usually happens is that you see the three rays coming from the clouds, and they are enveloping you. They are the three rays of the three realms. They are the awen. They are the land, sea, and sky connection. Everything is in triads, and it is body, spirit, and soul. It's all of these things that the triplets or triads are working with. She is very special because she was the first and the last to brew the awen out of things that have come through the earth. Now, obviously, she's very special, and whatever her motivation was, we cannot deny that she is a very talented herbal healer. I'm not going to make you into a herbalist. I'm not necessarily going to make you into a herbal healer. I'm just going to show you some of the things that we can do for ourselves. And it is actually our responsibility to look after our own health. We cannot hand that responsibility over to anyone. And that means your GP as well. GPs are wonderful people, but they're very busy, and it is up to you to look after yourself. So using some of the things that I am going to teach you is actually going to help you stay out of the doctor's surgery, in my opinion. Like I said, I haven't been to the doctor in, probably a year now. So it is really that important that we grow our own herbs, that we know what to do with them. I absolutely adore and cannot wait for the nettles. They are my personal favorite healer. They give me everything that I need in order to stay well. And they are coming now, which is wonderful, because I can feel the ebbing of the power of all the people around me. It's been a very long winter. A lot of people have been very, very seriously ill, and I'm just keep dodging the bullet, I'm hoping. But it really is about being in unison and honoring nature. And you do that as she did. She knew everywhere that she was walking in her own place, in her own area, in her area of influence, her sphere of influence. She knew every tree, she knew every plant. I'm just saying that it is absolutely wonderful to see a plant from going dormant or being dormant into full bloom and then leaving again. And she knew exactly when to harvest these beautiful plants, because she had observed them, and she knew for years she had observed them, and she knew when they were at the height of their power, each individual plant. We cannot just sort of go nowadays by the dates. So happy Imbolc, but is it Imbolc? What does that actually mean? Candlemas, it's a church date. And so it is up to us to feel into nature and feel whether right now is a time of growing. Here in Glastonbury it certainly is, but is it where you are? And I'd like to hear from you. I'd like to hear from you that you have actually found plants that you can communicate with, that you have observed, that you have built a relationship with. I'm not asking you to see a tree spirit or a plant spirit right away, but without actually going out and looking at nature and understanding at what point nature is right now all around you. Being observant is one of the major key skills for a priestess, and being aware of all that goes on around you energetically, as well as, seeing it with your own eyes, is one of our greatest tools. So that is one of the things that I'm asking you to do in this training, is being very aware, feeling into. And that doesn't just mean people that might need your help. That also means nature, being at one with nature, seeing the flight of the birds. You can learn so much about nature from the flight of the birds, seeing what birds come out first. Who's been with you the whole of the winter? We've had the robins here, we've had the crows here, obviously we've had the ravens here, the swans are coming back, and we have the ravens, which I absolutely love myself. So as I'm driving through the levels towards the motorway, I always make sure to stop in a particular space and just look around me and see what is going on with nature and see how far we are. It gives me joy. It brings me happiness. Right now, the sun is shining in Glastonbury and everything seems possible. There's so much green around, so much beauty around, and everything seems to have a vibrancy that it hasn't had for a long time. So it also nurtures you just to look at nature, just to be in nature, to stand under a tree, smelling it, because if you don't know this, the tree sheds bits of itself all the time and we breathe them in, and it's actually a really healthy thing to do. The Japanese call it Shinrin Yoku. It is tree bathing. So if you are around and you're looking at the trees, just stand quite close and just breathe in the gifts that the tree gives you. So I'll be talking some more about the Swynwraig, but I just thought I'd give you a quick overview of what it is that I would like you to pay attention to right now. I don't mind people not having written homework and things like that, but I would like you to go around. You all now have phones that take photographs, and just show us what it's like where you are. Now, Alexandra says it's still a winter wonderland. She described it as Narnia, which I would love to see, and I'd love to go and be there, because we only had the one day of snow and that was magical. But obviously for her, that means that the winter is a lot longer than ours here, where we are already experiencing the warmth of the returning sun. She is still very much in the cold, and it can be very draining on your energy to be in the cold. So we're giving a thought to Alexandra in her winter wonderland, and wishing her that sooner rather than later the first green will peep through the snow, as it invariably does. So I'm blessing all of you. I hope that you all wish me the best as I'm walking the lurgy path around here and trying to dodge the bullet. And if you are unwell, please think that you can always reach out to the herbs. So sage tea right now is a real wonderful thing. I'm sure that can be bought elsewhere. By the next time this time of year comes around, you will have your own supply that you have picked yourself, that you have dried or frozen yourself. So I sometimes actually put herbs into a tray where you put the ice cubes in the freezer. That's really great to hold the energy as well of the fresh plant. And then when I make a cup of tea, I just chuck it in and put the hot water on. It's all possible, yeah? You can candy your own herbs. You can put them into bottles of booze. There's a lot of digestives and herbal liqueurs around in the world, and they're all really good for you because they hold the essence of the plant. So one glass a night can really not harm, I should think. But it's all of that, you know. Be aware the ways and means that we still use herbs in our everyday life. I hope that you are all well. I send you so much love from the Cerridwen room in Goddess House, and please let me know if there is anything I can do, anything I can explain to you, anything I can help you with. Blessed be.